You are an explorer, and you represent our species. And the greatest good you can do is to bring back a new idea, because our world is endangered by the absence of good ideas. Our world is in crisis because of the absence of consciousness. Terence McKenna. This is the fourth weigh-in, and I am as excited as a post-bath dog to be able to bring you today's conversation with the one and the only Sean McCormick. Sean is an explorer who is returning consciousness to our world. As a life coach and entrepreneur, he is helping people to find meaning in the work that they do and the life that they are living. Today, Sean is best known for starting Float Seattle, where he is leading the renaissance of sensory deprivation tank therapy. You know, those tanks where you go in, you can't see anything, and you always hear people have these trippy, amazing experiences or massively zenful experiences post-float. This conversation, get ready for an auditory journey. For our pre-dive check, we start with coffee and his morning routine. Then we jump into the depths, exploring his current work with artificial intelligence and the shadow self at self-emergence. And we discuss my own experience with sleep paralysis and the cultural relation to alien abductions. Then Sean takes us through his shamanic experiences. We discuss his astral projection and meditation practices, the importance of sleep and what is happening in the sleeping realm, and how to unplug in a quickening world where disconnection from self and what's important is common, and so much more. And while you're listening, feel free to give Sean a shout on Twitter at Sean Evolver. That's SeanYvolver. And you can also follow along with the show notes at teamaway.com/Sean. And that's Sean, Sean. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, puppies and kittens, without further ado, let's weigh in.
So, this is coffee number 2. I'm up at 6 on the nose every single day, so it's right time for coffee number 2. And I did bring my Kerrygold unsalted grass-fed butter.
And not only did you bring that, you brought something to cut it with.
That's right.
And stir your coffee with.
That's right.
What is the tool that you're using?
This is a foamer from IKEA. It's like 3 bones, and this is like the portable butter coffee thing. I have a blend tech that I blend it properly at home, but when I don't really travel with this stuff, but it was just fun because we were headed here. But it does the trick. It just basically just emulsifies the grass-fed butter and the MCT oil just enough to like break it down.
This is MCT oil with something else, or is it just MCT oil?
It's just MCT oil. It's from On It. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. I try to eat ketogenically, although I've never tested whether or not I am in ketosis. Are you familiar with this whole? Yeah. I've never really tested, foolishly, like rule 1 of biohacking is test. And I, for whatever reason, haven't, but I eat high fat, low carb, moderate protein, and so like I'm doing MCT oil and macadamia nuts all day and avocados and stuff.
Do you remember what it was like before you started doing this?
Yeah.
And how you felt?
Yeah, for sure. Well, with the myriad projects and businesses that I participate in, like I have to be able to go to be effective all day, essentially. And with 2 small children, that's really challenging. And so I switched to eating ketogenically and high fat, and found that my endurance and my ability to focus, along with like I don't eat until like 2:00 every day, so I can be really on point mentally and physically for like the first half of the day. I crash a little bit after I eat at 2, but then by 3 or 4 I can go for another 4 or 5 hours and be effective. And when I was waking up every morning, I used to eat like the slow carb, the Tim Ferriss slow carb. So it was like beans, eggs, kale every morning. And I found that it was just too much food. It's food that I didn't need in the morning. So I switched, and now I'm just always tweaking. I've also got, a dozen pills in my body already.
a dozen pills.
Yeah.
So what's your baker's dozen look like?
So I do, and this changes from day to day, but I have Siltep, which is a nootropic for focus, memory, mental clarity. I have high doses of vitamin C, D3, krill oil. I take 1 magnesium in the morning. I took a dopamine brain food. And I think that's it for today. And then later in the afternoon, I'll probably take a little bit more dopamine because I've got a long day today. And then in the evening time, I'll either do serotonin brain food or 5-HTP. And yeah.
What's 5-HTP?
5-HTP is it's a mood enhancer. It's I don't really know much about the technical description of it, but it's on it makes a product called New Mood, and it really the 5-HTP product is like perfect for hangovers and long festival weekends. Like if you need to replenish some of your serotonin in your brain, like the 5-HTP helps you feel human again. When you don't feel so human, when you've been detached from your physical body.
Right. Lost in the trance.
Yeah.
I mean, at the most basic level, I did the same switch, slow carb diet, which helped me to eat. I had this vegetarian test phase where I was living in the Midwest and it was just meat and potatoes diet everywhere. Finding a healthy diet after college was the most difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Transitioning from the most progressive place in Ohio, in Athens, Ohio University, to the farm country, where it's Applebee's and let's find a way to put bacon in every single piece of food that we can find.
Yeah.
Even the water had bacon. So I went to vegetarian, and then I found the slow carb diet. I lost way too much weight. I didn't know what I was doing. And then the slow carb diet helped me to eat, and then I was eating all the time. And then just that coffee hack in the morning, adding grass-fed butter and MCT oil to my coffee, and just having that, no cravings, on fire for 2 to 4 hours, just lit, and getting after it, and no cravings at least for 4 to 6 hours. As long as I'm not working out. I've been stuck with it for it's been 6 months consistently.
So when do you first eat? When's your first meal?
So late lunch, around 2 p.m. So around the 7 o'clock hour, I'll have the coffee, and then I might do a little snack in between. Whether that's eggs and sweet potatoes or another coffee. Around lunchtime. And I haven't really, it's just totally with feeling. It depends on whether or not I'm working out, how much food, because I've tried the intermittent fasting and then played soccer and then came home and was really pissed off and hangry. And so I need to be mindful of that sort of thing.
And you're a pretty lean guy too, and so you I don't know how your body functions, but you may need a little bit more, because you may just get real scrawny if you don't. Fuel it up.
I double up on the butter and the oils in the morning. It's like 4 tablespoon block.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously, 4 tablespoons? Good for you.
If I know I'm going hard that day, it's 4 tablespoons.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think mine's probably
coconut oil.
Yeah.
It's a fatty block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that do you sort of, it sounds like you sort of tailor your intake of food and stuff based on what you're doing that day and what you're looking forward to. Are there do you have like a cheat day?
I don't really. No, not anymore. I used to go hard on cheat days and slow carb diet, but even then my cheat was, I'm going to have a veggie burger with sweet potato fries.
Oh, really?
Right? That was my cheat. It was never, or ice cream every once in a while. Now it's I'll have a cheat every so often, but it's not anything that I crave. I think I've effectively eliminated any massive cravings for cheat meals.
Yeah.
My diet right now, it's no dairy, no alcohol, no FAP, and yeah, no dairy, no alcohol, no FAP, and just getting rid of dairy.
Yeah.
Is not that I was eating a lot of cheese before, but being mindful of where dairy is helps to eliminate sugar.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
an associated byproduct of eliminating dairy.
Well, and you get to a point where...
Except for grass-fed butter, by the way. I know I'm eating lots of butter in the morning.
Right. Well, and you get your body... You get to a point where you know how your body reacts, and you build up sort of a tolerance, and you're more... I found that you're more sensitive. Like my sister-in-law, like she'll look at a biscuit and her feet itch. Like she's so sensitive to gluten that she's just on a
goodness,
just crazy sensitivity. And I've gotten to be that way a little bit. I just, like this form, this way of eating, this sort of discipline, it just works. It just makes me feel really great. So I did my blood work to get life insurance recently, and everything was like right in the middle of where it should have been, but my cholesterol levels were like massive. And I was like, whoa. I mean, I don't remember the actual number, but they were like a good 20 points higher than what the sort of suggested range is. And it just so happened that same day I got my blood work back, I listened to a podcast about cholesterol and how cholesterol was a manufactured, like Lipitor. Lipitor is a pharmaceutical that you take to reduce your cholesterol. And the sort of low-fat, high-corn, subsidized propaganda of it's bad to have cholesterol. High cholesterol is a killer. It's like, well, it's not really. And you need it for your brain to function. And so I started to dork out on cholesterol and what it is and how it affects you. And then if I'd have looked at the cholesterol levels with a conventional sort of Western medicine doctor, he'd be like, you need to overhaul your whole life. And it's nice to know that I know just a little bit more than he does.
Yeah, and as guys, we need cholesterol to create testosterone, right? Which, while we're sleeping, testosterone is created. We need cholesterol, which we need fats to create, for cholesterol to create testosterone to be men.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's important.
So we're not angry vegans.
Right. That's right.
Sweet, man.
Yeah.
Well, good start.
Good start.
So anyway, welcome. Well, thanks for I'm glad we can finally connect like this, man.
Me too.
Yeah, outside of the tribal gatherings that we attend once per month.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So Sean, for people who don't know Sean McCormick, the question, what do you do? How do you field that question?
So I'm probably best known currently as the float guy, owning sensory deprivation tank centers is certainly my most notable career characteristic. I consider myself an entrepreneur because I've dabbled into other things and have a couple other businesses. So I own float centers. I sell an ebook it's called howtostartafloatcenter.com. I am a certified life coach, and as well as that, I'm also working with a startup out of San Francisco currently. It's relatively new, and I'm doing sort of a sales and training facilitator role, sort of dual role. And yeah, so that's what I do. How that looks is short periods of highly focused work at a standing desk in my back pantry, and meetings like this, meetings with people who either want to be coached. So the coaching is mostly done in my office via Skype, but I also do a fair number in person. And aside from the coaching and the float center stuff, it's developing this startup and making the sales viable. So the startup company is called Self Emergence, and it is a life. It is not a life. It is a it's a corporate training system. So it's corporate coaching, and the word corporate also makes my skin crawl. I don't know if that was a smile or a grimace, but
I agree.
Yeah. It's just, there's just no other thing to call it, you know? It is what it is, and it's a 2-part training system that involves the use of an app, in which you interface with this app, and you go through prompted selfie videos that you make for yourself, and you follow the prompts to really be hard on yourself, and then you work to exchange that self-limiting mental chatter with empowering mental chatter.
So it sounds like, so you're recording yourself speaking and saying things so that you can see what you look like when you say these prompts, and then you're watching yourself so that it's easier to reframe
exactly
the mentality or what you're saying.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's based largely on Jungian philosophy regarding the shadow self. So using the darkest parts of yourself and alchemizing those into something that will be productive. Identifying, like, why do you think that you're useless? Like, where does that come up? Where does that come from? How can we use that to empower you and to grow you? And then the work that's done individually via this app is then worked on in a peer setting in a conference room at a business. And so there's some businesses that we're working with currently, and it's a 10-person facilitated training. So I would both sell this app into a company like Simply Measured, or tech is really kind of the target, small to medium-sized tech companies, and grow their culture and grow how they support each other. So everybody's sitting around a table, and everybody did work on this app, and everybody's identified where their shortcomings are and why they're hard on themselves, and then it's building up this structure so that they support each other, they feed off each other and grow. So it's coaching. It's aligned nicely with where I'm at now, and I really think it has the potential to be hugely beneficial for people who are looking for meaning in the work that they do. And yeah, it's really exciting.
What do some of those prompts look like?
Well, one of them is it's called Feeling Small, and you basically talk to yourself. You be hard on yourself. So it will be prompt. David Lesser, who is the brain behind this, he's been doing executive coaching for 25 years, and he's really good, really smart, British guy, and he does the voice work, and he'll say, okay, now think of the ways that you limit yourself, express those in your clearest way possible, really get into character, why you are self-limiting, explain to yourself why you cannot do what you want to do. And then you go, and then you record this thing, and then you reflect on it. Yeah.
As coaches, a lot of times we're a mirror for people, right? A coach is a mirror for someone. Can be a lot of times. So what better mirror than yourself?
Right.
It's even just going through and recording, let's say, podcast interviews and listening to my voice and hearing my own tics, or when I'm fumbling through a question, or the ums and ahs, and hearing that when I go back through a recording, man, what the hell?
Right.
Like, just stick with the question, man. Just let it be. I just think of myself going, Timo, you are such a weak coward.
Right.
You are so weak. That is a real smack in the face.
Well, and we can't deny that portion of ourselves.
Right.
Like, there can be no light without the darkness.
Exactly.
We can't just brush that under the rug. We have to identify it, and we have to work with it. And this is a way for you to do that in your life and in your career, but it's you. It's not self-prompted. It's not prompted with a coach in front of you asking you questions, prodding questions to dig down about why you think you're useless. This is you, tell me why right now, and then consider how we can change that. So it's It's seven sessions. Each session takes about 15 minutes, and it's broken up over 7 weeks, and then expounded upon in a facilitated setting.
Wow.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to try this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you should try it, and I think that it should be as part of I want you to do it right. So before you go in and download it and start digging in on it, I want you to do it so that you set up with a peer group, because that's where the real growth happens, where you sort of support each other and help each other grow.
Yeah, it's like self-guided therapy in a sense. I think of Headspace and how this could be a great partner to a meditation practice. And then my mind was also going to immersing yourself in self, and wow, how would this look in a virtual reality environment?
So let me throw this at you. Of course, there's another layer, and this layer is AI. So if we can learn how we grow as people, if we can learn how we change and grow from self-limiting, self-deprecating to empowering to confidence, then we will learn a lot about how people grow. And when we know how people grow, when we can get a large enough sample size to know, like, find the sort of points and the commonalities between how people grow, how they change the way they think about themselves, that can be applied to AI. So eventually, however AI looks, I don't know how it's going to look in 10, 15 years, but if we know how to develop people and to grow people, then we can grow people to be maybe not altruistic, benevolent, but supportive, embodied, and authentic. Then maybe we can do the same for AI. And this was all part of the original plan for this app, was to grow this to a size where we can extrapolate that and apply it to AI.
Got you. In the vision for AI, and the AI in this context is in artificial intelligence, human-like artificial intelligence, or sort of an AI, a program that does.
I think that remains to be seen.
Gotcha.
I think that remains to be seen, whether it's
a cognified robot, or
right, whether it's Max Headroom. You get the reference? Yeah. Whether it's Max Headroom or, am I saying the last name right? Is it Headroom or Hedro?
We'll go with Hedro.
Okay. Whether it's as a humanoid android robot thing, or some sort of program that, nice catch. Whether it's a physical robot that's made to look like a human, or a program that is used in some other aspect, we want that artificial intelligence to be as human as possible, but we want this human to learn how it can grow itself and become the best it can be.
Benevolent.
It's coming, right? Like, it's coming.
Right. Yeah, it's inevitable.
Right.
In some sense, it's just, what do we do once it's here? And we can resist VR and AUG, and we can resist AI, but it's here.
Right.
I think we're on day 1, hour 1, really.
Yeah.
So it sounds like getting as much data as possible. Just saw Kevin Kelly. You know Kevin Kelly?
I don't think so.
He's one of the founders of Wired magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And he just launched a book called The Inevitable.
Oh,
and
right.
He was at Town Hall Seattle 2 days ago.
Okay. I think I saw it on Twitter.
He was here on Sunday.
Uh-huh.
And during his talk, he talked about AI, and he talked about cognifying that. So one of the cognification trends, he was going to predict that Google in 10 years will become an AI exclusive company, that AI will become a commodity. So right now we can actually go on, Google is selling AI to make, it's either X amount of decisions, costs 60 cents or something like that. So you can ask an AI, hey, identify the white skirts and all these image searches, and give me a results feed on that. So okay, every 1,000 times I find one that costs 60 cents.
Wow. Okay.
And so in the next 10 years, and because Google and Microsoft
Amazon have such massive amounts of data.
Yeah.
And that's what the comparison being, we have millions and millions of rows of data, well, Google does, to create their AIs versus, let's say, an infant, a human infant, takes 12 tries to identify this is a dog and this is a cat. It takes 12 examples, 12 or less examples to figure that out. Where versus AI today is millions of this is a dog, this is a cat, this is a dog. If you follow my drift. So the companies that have the most data points,
Right.
Google, Apple, are the ones that are really turning up the AI. Facebook, I should throw out Facebook as well. So in this example, I like that right away you guys have a benevolent purpose behind the AI to create a... because there is a dark layer to the internet, there's a dark layer to everything. We're skating this surface, and we have the deep web. A lot of things come out of the internet.
Yeah.
Every part of humanity is represented there, whether or not we see it or...
And because of the anonymity of the internet, it's easy to be an asshole. And, like, that's not really AI. That's sort of a side point, I guess. But, yeah.
But it could be AI.
But it could be AI. You're right.
Depending on how it grows.
And what was the Microsoft AI that did a Twitter account? Was
racist, or Tay?
Tay.
That was Tay.
Racist and bigoted.
Within 24 hours.
Like, oh, man. And it was, targeted at, like, teenagers
Millennials.
or something. Millennials. Mm-hmm. So, okay.
Tay tweets.
Yeah.
It was like if South Park were to make AI
it
Twitter
was,
account.
Wasn't it? Did you read through some of the?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was having a ball.
So like that's an excellent example. Like if Tay had a way to grow quickly into an accepting, growth-based, confident thing that wants to help people instead of, don't ask Tay about guns because Tay is going to have some sketchy ideas. Well, maybe in 2 seconds, Tay goes from one view on guns to something else that's more evolved, right?
Yeah, if you can figure out how to get somebody to their true self or how to get to the light side of themselves, get through the dark part as quickly, acknowledge the darkness, so to speak, get to the light, and apply that and drop that piece of programming, seed of programming into an AI.
Right, and AI working with other AI.
To steer the course.
Right, to grow.
Fascinating.
To grow into something that's again, benevolent, maybe not be the right word, but just more self-realized, more empowered, more growth-minded instead of, stagnant and judgmental and dark and weird.
The darkest traits of humanity.
Yeah, right.
The guy that cuts you off in the parking lot.
Yeah. Damn
you, autonomous vehicle. Every time.
Oh, man.
Always parking in the handicap spot. You don't even have a pass. I hope that's the darkest side of me.
I know. Right. Being a jerk for a minute because you got to go in and buy a pack of gum versus, destroying planets.
I have the access to the Triton nuclear submarines.
Yeah.
It's mine.
Yeah, I control HARP.
Yeah. And so, rewinding back to everybody's favorite topic, flotation.
Yeah.
And where did you first encounter a float tank or a sensory deprivation tank?
I first read about it. Well, actually, it goes way, way back. So back when I was a kid, we watched a lot of movies. Who doesn't? I remember distinctly the cover of Altered States, William Hurt film from 1983. So when I was 5 years old or so, it was still sort of relevant. Cult classic. Have you seen it?
I have not. No.
What?
No.
Man, we should watch it together.
Sure.
I won't. Basically, a researcher goes into this floating practice. Takes some psychedelics and basically stuff gets weird. The cover of this, the cover of the movie, of the VHS tape, is somebody who's upside down. William Hurt is upside down. He's got electrodes on his face, and it's black and reddish, really trippy. And I remember that. I remember being really freaked out by that when I was a kid. Hadn't seen the movie. I think I saw it in my teens, on A&E or something like that, or TNT. And now, as I reflect back, that was the first time that I didn't have any idea what that movie was about, but I remember it. So I meditated since I was a kid and have gone through different versions of meditation, from Zazen to TM to, mindfulness, and wanted to take it a little bit deeper. And that's, my interest in cannabis and psychedelics and entheogens and those sorts of things are sort of go hand in hand with this. And in, I think it was 2005 or 2006, on my lunch break from my corporate gig, I went and floated at some guy's house, a yoga instructor's house in Bellevue. And back then, that was the only place that you could float in Seattle, was this guy on Craigslist. Yeah.
Wow.
There were float centers in the 70s and 80s, and as early as the early 90s. There was one right by Canlis on the Aurora Bridge. There was one in Pike Place Market. One of them was called Float to Relax. And then they went away for whatever reason. And then this was the only place that you could do it. So I did it, and I had an out-of-body experience in my first float in Brian Bale's basement, and he saw me naked. I floated in showered in his bathroom down the hall, walked down the hall, dripping wet, D out, and he's like, "Here you go. This is what, this is how you do it. This is what you do." And I got in, and very quickly, I popped out of my body and was in his basement looking around, and that changed everything. I'd had out-of-body experiences involuntarily in meditation before. And so this was way more vivid and lasted longer, and I thought, well, okay, there's definitely something here. So I filed that away for a little bit and put my tie back on and went back to selling advertising, and it just felt different. I felt different. The way that I saw reality felt different, and I'm sitting at my cubicle after this transcendent experience thinking, what am I doing here? What on earth am I doing here in slacks and a tie, selling advertising? Not to knock sales or advertising, that's the way the world works, but it just wasn't right for me. And it wasn't until probably 4 or 5 years later that I started to really think about it and do some research on it and look at the other float centers around the world. And then in 2011, quit my job, saved up some cash, bootstrapped a business, and opened Float Seattle in Green Lake with my wife and a friend. And yeah, kept chugging from there. Now we have 2 locations of downtown Bellevue. Yeah, it's taking off. It's taking off because in the sort of old guard of float center operators, just hippies, they're slightly unorganized and didn't really have a great grasp of branding, maybe didn't have a great grasp of how to run a business effectively, were unorganized, and I had never run a business either, but I just learned on the fly and kept really focused on sort of our core values. What are we about? And have managed to grow it. So when I started, there was something like 30 float centers in the country, and now there's 500 in 4 years. So that's how I got into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was that like, the out-of-body experience? I mean, it sounded like you're out of your body, you see, what is that like? What was that world like?
Right. So the practice of astral projection is one of I although I don't spend enough time on it, I think it's the most powerful spiritual practice.
Astral projection.
What
is astral projection?
Astral projection is you've seen a picture on the internet of somebody laying in their bed and their body is glowing 6 inches ahead of them, or in some cases, in some of the images you see, it's projected 10 feet above them and attached by a silver cord in the back of your head. So the silver cord in the back of your head attaches to your soma, your body. So your psychosoma is that light body, and then but still looks like you. And then there's another level of ascension, which is you're just a glowing orb ball of light. And so what my experience was at that time was this sort of like, it was a dream. It felt like a dream. Like I must be sleeping, but holy crap, I'm able to look at all of the details in this guy's basement. Like yoga mats and towels and his kids' toys. I'm looking at the tank. I'm looking at myself sort of through the tank because of physical barriers that we abide by, laws of physics, don't apply in the astral world. And so this out-of-body experience, this projection, I was able to see through the tank to myself lying there naked. I saw all the things that were going around, and I was in there. I was somehow able to relax into it, sort of accept it, notice it, but not like either freak out or go, like woohoo, because then that snaps you out of it and you shoot back to your body. So the theory is, and there is a really amazing book called Demystifying the Out-of-Body Experience by Luis Minero. Big book, explains what research thinks this is, where you can go with it, infinite dimensions, life cycles, reincarnation, spirit world, astral beings, your spirit guides, habits. So I was able to sort of look at that experience in it as this is real. This is not a dream. I'm not making this up because I've never had a dream where I'm in the room looking at stuff in detail. And it lasted probably 15 to 30 seconds. And I remember it really lucidly. And then I popped back in my body. And shortly after I popped back in my body, at least it felt like 15 to 30 seconds. It may have been much longer. But then I popped back in my body. And then the music came on. My float was over. And it changed me big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That moment where you're in your body and you're leaving the body. You mentioned that there's this acceptance that happens, or that moment where you can't freak out. Try not to freak out. What do? Do you have a practice of how to just let that go?
It's breathing. It's breathing and it's non-judgment. Like I was really disciplined with my meditation. I was doing, 20 minutes twice a day, every day during this period, which is why everything happens for a reason. And I think that I was preparing for this experience because this was going to be part of my path. And I was in my mindfulness meditation. I had learned to not get too excited about stuff that happens. A cool reverie that you have, an image, connection with a gray alien, a flower blossoming. It's just you just observe it, you allow it, you don't make connections about it, make judgments of it, get too excited about it, and then you just sort of let it be, and then whatever comes in next, it's that same process. So in that moment, I was really disciplined to just be like, okay, this is a thing. I'm gonna not judge it. I'm just gonna let it happen, and I'm going to remember to breathe. I'm going to breathe. And then I sort of fell into it. And since then, that's sort of been my, in lucid dreaming, there's like, do you know much about lucid dreaming? Yeah. So like, you look at your hands, or you look at a clock, and if the numbers don't look like numbers on the clock on your microwave, you're dreaming.
Sort of like in the movie Inception.
Exactly. Right.
They have charms.
Right.
Things to keep them grounded, or was it the top? If the top kept spinning,
right.
It didn't fall over. You're in a dream state.
You're in a dream state. So it's in this sense, and there's other ways. So there's lots of different ways. So you have to raise your level of vibration. So you have to now my astral practice is to raise my level of vibration, and a conversation like this here in this coffee shop with microphones helps that, because we're in a flow state, you and I right now. We're both vibrating. Our level of vibration makes us lighter. So that makes it easier for your psychosoma to detach from your physical body, from your soma. Apparently, we all detach when we sleep. Some of us, it's an inch. Some of us, it's 6 inches. Dogs detach, animals, whatever. They all, when they sleep, they sort of leave their body. And when you are... This is specifically when you're sleeping. It's not lucid dreaming. But in this case, I didn't really have I have before. You hear a popping sound sometimes, or like a whoosh, or like a falling sound, like you're falling down a well. Obviously really easy to do in a float tank because the environment is perfect for that. And in that moment, when I first detached, it wasn't like, oh, here I am. It was just like, oh, I'm kind of finding myself, like floating up above myself, looking down. So there wasn't like a really quick moment, but it was like, okay, now I'm here. I just got to breathe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really relate to this. I get to that point when I'm sleeping. So I've experienced sleep paralysis a number of times.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I had sleep paralysis, my eyes open, my body isn't waking up, completely paralyzed, can't open my mouth. And I remember shifting my eyes and looking out the doorway in the room and just having this sense of terror.
Sure.
I'm paralyzed, I can't move, and there's this dark presence that feels like it's coming into the room to get me, and there's nothing I can do about it. The second time I had sleep paralysis, much more vivid. Okay, I'm here again. And one of those little beings shows up. What people would commonly describe as a gray alien, standing, staring at me in my room. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Terrified.
Sure.
Screaming. Of course, my mouth doesn't open. It sounds more like a muffled scream, like, And I still have these things happen. So the third time, so that being just showed up, and then my mom came running in the room, and she touched me, and I snap out of it. Full consciousness. Holy crap, that just happened. That was just a dream state, hypnopompic hallucination.
Hypnagogic.
Hypnagogic.
Yeah.
I think there's two.
Is there
right?
another one?
There's one there's one at the onset of sleep, and then the other hallucinations happen
Got it.
right before
Hypnagogic
awakening.
is the first one.
Cool.
Got
So
it.
there's hypnopompic and hypnagogic. And what? Got it. Yeah. So the third time I was going through this practice because sleep paralysis was happening, and these hallucinations were becoming more and more vivid, to the point where touch. I woke up one time and this little being is standing on top of my chest and grabbing my arm.
Wow.
And making its hand was going up to my neck to choke me out. Of course, I'm paralyzed. This is very real, hyper real, where I'm in between the dream and waking world, and that set me off on this meditation. How can I just let go of this fear when I'm in this in-between world state? I'm in between dreaming and in between awakening, and they're both real as hell. How can I come to terms with that, lose the fear, become mindful, and kick this alien's ass?
Yeah.
And so the very last time I hallucinate, and it also gave me another perspective on people who claim to have been abducted by aliens. And these alien abduction stories that I watched as a kid on like Sci-Fi
Sure.
or History Channel or whatever station it would be.
Unsolved mysteries.
Unsolved mysteries on alien abductions. And there was a common thread between all the alien abduction stories. These people would wake up, they're paralyzed, they have fear. And I could relate to every piece of their story, including the being, until they leave their room and go to a ship. And then those other things happen.
Yeah.
So the very last time, go through this mindfulness practice. So what you're talking about, how to accept and be okay with being in that state.
Right.
Because I was freaking out.
That's not easy to do.
And the very last time I remember, there was this moment. The being is there again, and then I'm just like, I have this fuck you moment, this acceptance moment. It was more peaceful than that. But I got out of my body, left my physical body, went full on, went in my closet, grabbed it. This being shrunk as I went towards it.
Wow.
I grabbed it, put it in my hand, snapped its spine. In my hand, I remember just sort of killed this being. I left my body. It shrank in size until I killed it, snapped its spine in my hands. And I remember feeling that snap, so like that pop that you mentioned.
Whoa.
And ever since that moment, never again has it happened.
I've never heard anything like that before in my whole life.
And I've left my body, and I've struggled with this
moment?
exact moment of leaving, to the point where I get there and it just feels so stuck in between. It's the story of a lot of my earlier life, stuck in between. What do I do? This or that, and stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And there's just always been this strong pull in sleep state to pull me into this other world. The hardest part has been letting go,
Going with it.
letting it happen.
Right.
And the times when I have, it's been tremendous amounts of growth from it.
Right.
So really,
We're on the same page then.
yeah. Oh, I hear you, man.
Figures. Yeah. You should give a look at that book, because the sleep paralysis, is sort of an indicator that you're projecting. Next time it happens, feel back for the silver cord and see if it's there. If you're having a projection, if you are in the astral world, it's always there. When you die, it gets cut off. So it will never get cut off. Anytime you project, I mean, you can feel it too. You can reach back and feel it. It feels just like a cable, like a inch and a half cable, that's like sort of the base of the base of your head, and it goes back to your body. You'll know that will be sort of an indicator that you're projecting. That's a wild story. You snapped that little gray alien's neck.
Yeah,
in
its
your
spine.
closet. Spine.
I can still feel the snapping of the spine in my hand. It set off a whole another wild dream, but that was the last time I saw it. Last time I dealt with it.
The interaction with grays is a very common theme in astral projection. It's also fairly common in floating. Do you know who Duncan Trussell is?
I've heard of him. He has a podcast,
yeah,
right?
The DTFH. He talks about an experience he's had in a float tank, in which he's sort of surrounded by a group of grays. There's something there. I don't know what it is. There's something to that. I haven't had any personal experience with like that sort of a being, in my meditations or projections. But yeah, I think that ability to just sort of go with it, it just sort of empowers you to take it wherever you want to go.
Yeah. Even applied to our practical reality, this is a great lesson. It's a mindfulness lesson,
right,
for the real world.
Yeah. Don't get too hung up on stuff. Be okay letting it go. Yeah.
Man.
Well, that didn't take long to get weird. That didn't take long at all. Nice.
Yeah.
Where do we go from there?
Make sure you're okay on time.
Where do we go from there? For goodness sakes?
We're cool, man. Yeah, where do we go from there? Yeah, when I was researching sleep paralysis, because that's a trippy part, and really had trouble relaying that to people. I gave a talk on it in college in a speech class. People were looking at me like I was nuts, but I was like, hey, this is real stuff. People know. What was fascinating was historically seeing how that. So we're talking about this gray alien figure, and that's what I saw, and what a lot of people see, and the alien abduction, and brought into question a lot of things. Aliens, alien abduction. What do those things mean? And then seeing historically and culturally that figure, that being, was different. So it was a troll or a witch,
right,
or had culturally, it was just different depending on the time and history.
A demigod or
and so today we have aliens that are hype in our culture, and it just raise a lot more questions for me, and just to dive into that world, and it just seemed, it's like, what is this representing, or what am I in contact with, what part of myself, because after killing it
you're not making any friends. You're not making friends with them.
No, the post dream was I killed this and started a war, and then I felt bad because I was the one that started the war, and had to tell other people, like, man, these aliens are coming to smash humanity. It was me. Sorry, guys. Yeah, let's flee to the woods and torches and this whole thing. That legitimately was the very lucid dream.
Whoa. I come from the thought that I don't feel like they are internal manifestations. Like I don't feel like we're creating that. I feel like that is some sort of a connection with an archetype that is tied to our subconscious, that whether or not we love aliens or hate aliens, whether or not we love or hate sort of angelic beings of light, whatever that thing is. Like, there are certain archetypes that are really common across cultures, and you can go way back to Egypt and Sumeria and the Dogon and these sort of these non-physical beings. Well, that's debatable too, I guess. But I have a sense that we are, when you're totally relaxed, when you're lucid dreaming, when you're projecting, when you're not in when you're in an altered state of consciousness, you sort of get to peek behind the curtain. You get to see what's really going on, like a DMT flash, like that. You're seeing something, and that something is really common. A lot of people see really similar stuff. Is that what's really going on behind our sort of collaborative, accepted reality that we're creating? I think so. I think it is. And when you have a method, whether it's an entheogen, whether it's ayahuasca or DMT or fasting or whatever, like or floating, you get to access a state of consciousness that transcends physicality. And what's Terence Mckenna say? The universe is not only good one, Sean. It's weirder. It's not. The universe is not only stranger than we suppose. It's stranger than we can suppose. Like, we have no idea the vastness and the interdimensionality of our consciousness. And for me, I think there's nothing more worthwhile. There's nothing more interesting than that. There's just nothing more fascinating than transcending that and poking around, and projecting and communing with your guides, extracting your spirit animal from a journey, like, have you done any sort of spirit animal? No
focused spirit animal adventures. In dream states and lucid dream states, I've had interactions with animals. Eagles, but not a focused journey.
There's a book by Jeremy Narby called The Way of the Shaman, I think is what it's called. And he's from the Northwest, and he sort of specs out the process for doing this. This is based on the coastal Salish, like Northwest Washington, BC, Native American tribe, indigenous peoples. And a friend of mine who used to work for me at Float Seattle is a musician, amazing. His name's Masaru Higasa, and he does journeying. And so there's a drumming pattern. It's a 20-minute journey, and you have to kind of read the book to kind of know how to do this. But it's like you have to have a location, a portal into the earth, and in this portal, you're not supposed to really talk about what yours is, but I have a portal, I have a thing, a place, an actual place that I've been to before that I'm very familiar with, that you just go in, you dip into this portal inward. And the first time I did it, there's a way to identify what your animal is. So if you see it 3 times in 3 different ways, then it's one of your spirit animals. So like for me, my journeys have been pretty similar. I go down this sort of quartz-lined cave that goes down into this like underground river. There's a light on one side, there's a light on another side. I have a choice, I either go left or go right. I've gone both ways. I get up, and as I go through, I'm seeing animals. Like I see this frog, but then I'm looking around and I'm sort of aware of, are there any other frogs? And there aren't. So I go up into this like desert mesa. And the first time I did it, it was a griffin. And I was not prepared for a griffin to be like, hey man, what's up? Like flying around me. So I see it flying above me. And it's like, okay, I see that that's a griffin. I see it. And then I turn around to kind of take in the scenery. And then I turn around, he's right behind me. And he's just like looking at me up like, what are you doing here? Not particularly friendly, but like inquisitive. Not threatening, but just like, you're lost, dude. You are not... So, and then I turn around and looked again, and then I peek over this mesa, and he's like hovering. He's like, hovering, flying 20 feet down. So I'd seen it in 3 different ways, but I wasn't ready for it. You let it physically grab it and take it with you back up the portal.
So you grab a griffin and take it with you?
Yep. But I couldn't. I was not prepared. And so I let this griffin be. The drum came back faster, so it's like, hey, time to come back, Sean. Doom, 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 doom. Like, shit! Okay, I gotta go. The next time I did it, it was a buffalo, or it was a buffalo, and for sure I saw it like 6 different times. And I've seen other animals, white horses, other sorts of things, owls, and everything. All those different archetypes have meaning. Why they are. This buffalo could not be more clear that this guy was here for me. I grabbed him and pulled him back, and now like he's with me, and I talk to him sometimes and sort of listen to what sort of wisdom. So if that's something you're interested in, like Jeremy Narby, The Way of the Shaman, I think that's what it's called.
I'm on it.
Yeah. And I can drum for you too. Like I know how to drum. I know how to do it. I've done it for a couple other people. I don't remember how much success they've had. I don't know that anybody's really extracted, or brought one back with them. But
is there a breathing pattern associated with it as well?
No, it's more visualization. I mean, deep breaths are always step one, but this is more of a visualization and having that portal. The portal is kind of the most important part, like
gotcha.
Down into the earth.
I've tried one shamanic related meditation, drum pattern, breathing pattern, and then there was definitely this portal involved. Mine was sort of like diving into this massive redwood through the roots, through the root system deep in the earth. There was no griffin though. But I remember doing that, and it really changed my day. Sure. It was a guided meditation on Insight Timer. Have you heard of the app Insight Timer?
No.
This is a community-based meditation app. After you're done meditating, you set a timer or do guided meditations that people upload.
Oh, cool.
And then you can say, thanks for meditating with me. You can see all the people in the world that have meditated with you in that moment.
Sweet.
Kind of cool.
That's very cool.
Social meditation.
Nice.
But there's a 30-minute guided shamanic meditation on there. Did that, really sort of effed my day.
Did it?
In terms of just going on this journey surrounded by flames. It was all about clearing any sort of negative self-talk or clearing anything that doesn't serve me anymore. Was the theme of it, in meeting your guides and a power animal. For me, it was a lion circling this flame, waiting, come through shed all that cowardly lion bullcrap and become this badass lion that you are, Timo.
Nice.
And that was a day of reflection.
Yeah.
Almost couldn't even function.
What were you doing that day? What was your day like after that?
I don't even remember. Honestly.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Great question. I don't remember. I just remember reflecting. It's in this sort of somber post-meditation Zen state. Wow, I can't believe that visualization just happened.
Those sorts of experiences really shape who we are, and there's such a gigantic need for it now. We're so attached to our phones and alerts and email. Like email is now like the most stressful thing that people deal with. Like you gotta check it, you gotta stay on top of it, you gotta have a 0 unread, whatever. Like
get to 0, inbox 0.
We live in a world that is so, like, we glorify stress, we glorify work, and we glorify all these things that don't serve us. They're not helping us grow and evolve. They're helping us buy stuff.
No.
They're helping us buy stuff and stay concerned with stuff that doesn't matter. And so again, like shamanic work, projecting, lucid dreaming, entheogens, psychedelics, floating, meditation, like a disciplined use of cannabis, like those things are not only what I think are the most interesting things we can concern ourselves with, but I think the most important practices that the world needs right now.
Yeah, it seems that the more we get in touch with what we were talking about in the beginning, getting in touch with our dark side, so to speak, the more we are able to dive into that world, not necessarily dark, evil world, but those things will exist for each one. We all have our demons, I think, that we need to face.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
Yeah.
But the more we're able to dive in that and get past that initial shell of, for me, it was that killing that alien, so I could dive a little bit deeper and stay with it longer, through the use of psychedelics, meditation, etc. We'll find maybe that we have more in common, and then we have a lot more exploring to do.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up earlier so we were talking about aliens, and it almost seems like the deeper we go into that world, the deeper or the more stories I hear from the other side, so to speak, like ayahuasca experiences, where there seems to be this common theme of people seeing serpents or dragons that claim to be the rulers of the world. And I remember my own ayahuasca experience, I didn't have the chance to meet these serpents, but I hear it very frequently.
Yeah.
People meet dragons. And to think about those common archetypes, or to think about dragons, and then all of a sudden to see them in our practical, grounded, physical reality. So what is it really about dragons? What is it about aliens? Where are these things coming from?
Right.
And to hear people have common experiences using the common thread being, let's say in this case, ayahuasca.
Yeah.
What is it about that? It seems we have a lot of exploring to do.
Yeah.
So back, I guess, for the a practical sense of like step 1, step 2, step 3, for me it's been recently my dreams getting to a place where you can be more comfortable dreaming, whether it's in this dream world we're talking about, or coming up with awesome business ideas and more importantly executing on ideas. It's been a practice of as simply put as I can, of developing habits to help me sleep better.
Sure.
And what that's looked like is diet, no dairy, and then keeping caffeine in the morning, not eating things that have my stomach gargling at night while I'm sleeping, to meditation, no alcohol. My dreams have been, over the last 2 weeks, I'm on day like 43 or something like that.
Wow, nice. Like a dream journal, like you're tracking closely?
I do. I write them as soon as I wake up. Ariana Huffington just wrote a dream or a sleep book, and on the importance of dreaming. I'm like, wow, okay, pretty mainstream.
Right.
But the importance of sleep, and then what's happening while sleeping, also important, and how to get good sleep, very important. I think we're gonna see a lot of changes. It's meditation,
for sure.
And you're on the edge of all of these things. Flotation, meditation.
I try.
Astral projection.
Yeah, I try. I mean, there's again, like going back to basics, grounding ourselves. Got to get sleep. There's industry. There's you can capitalize on that. Like she wrote a book, Ariana Huffington. Who would have ever thought she would write a sleep book? Like how irrelevant is it that Ariana Huffington is telling me how to sleep? Well, she's prolific. Like she generates. I mean,
regardless of what you think about her, what she's saying,
she gets
prolific.
A lot of stuff done.
Yeah.
She gets a lot of stuff done. She's a big. She's a mover and shaker. She gets a lot of. She does stuff, and to talk. To write a book about it. I've got my little sleep hacks. Cold showers. Flux on your computer at night before you mess around. Like no EMFs in your bedroom. Blackout curtains. I do white noise for my kids when they take naps. Not so much when they sleep because I don't want them like hooked on it. But we have to find antidotes to our heightened level of stress and anxiety that we just sort of accept now. We're supposed to be stressed out, is what people think. We're supposed to be running around and texting while we're driving, and that it's gonna catch up with us. It already is. It's harming the planet. It's detaching us from what's really important, which is to help one another and to grow, evolve as a human species. And the more we're connected to shit that doesn't matter, the more detached we come from one another. You got to be mindful. You got to get good sleep. You got to take care of yourself. You got to start by changing yourself before you can make change in other people. And who knows what I'm gonna be doing in 5 years? Maybe it's more float centers. Maybe it's, maybe I'll write I don't know. Maybe I'm actually starting on a book now. Yeah, so I'm starting on a book now, but I really like podcasts. I listen. There's about a dozen or so that I listen to on a really regular basis. Maybe there's something there, but I think it's the most interesting stuff. It's the most interesting content, and to know that we, are brothers in that. I knew from the second I met you that we would have a lot in common, and we do, of course. Sleeping, tripping, gray aliens, strange experiences. That's the good stuff. That's the most interesting stuff for me.
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than top 40.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's anything. I mean, we covered.
We went deep, man.
We went all over the place. Spirit animals included.
Shamanic journeys.
Yeah, we could probably go for another 6 hours.
Goodness, I know. I was thinking of maybe we could end it on real practical stuff for the Sean, the pre-float Sean. Thinking back to I always think back to my 18-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
That guy that I was going out, getting hammered, watching sports, and just in that cycle of life.
Yeah.
Even Facebook has Facebook search is powerful.
Yeah.
And so typing in my post from insert year
Mm-hmm.
is a fun way, because I've been using Facebook now for 11 years, to see what my voice was like 11 years ago,
Right.
even 3 years ago.
Right.
For anybody, I recommend doing that to see if you've grown.
Right.
Are you doing the same thing? If you're on your path, good for you. But what advice or what steps would you offer to the you before floating, or to anyone who's stuck in sort of this corporate pattern or in living in the screen world? And so steps to unplug.
Yeah.
3 easy steps, or Sean's easy steps to unplug.
I think first and foremost, you have to be willing to take a risk. You have to be willing to be bold and make bold moves. It's so easy to get used to your lifestyle and used to your income and how you do things and beers you drink and places you eat. It's easy to get stuck in momentum. And so we have to be willing. We have to really take a hard look at what do I really want? What do I really want? Do I want to wake up at 40 commuting to my job and living my life in this way? If the answer is yes, because I want a big house, because I want cars, because I want stability, cool, that's fine. If that's your path, great. But don't complain about it, because you chose it. You made the decisions to stay or do or be where you are, and that's the way that your path goes. If you're unhappy, you have to be bold enough to make a change in your life, big changes. And for me, it was without a safety net. I was before I had kids, but I was ready to really shake it up. I was either going to Asia to teach English, or I was gonna start a business. And I took 0 business classes ever. I have 0 formal business training education. So I think A, you've got to be willing to take a risk. If you're unhappy where you are, you have to just jump for it. B, in order to find what that thing is, in order to find what you want to do with your life, what your thing is, where your path is, you have to quiet your environment. It's not going to come to you while you're watching Narcos. Your life path is not going to come to you while you're watching the NBA Finals. It's just not. Or playing Halo. Or it's just not. It's not going to come to you there. You need to go outside. You need to go hiking. You need to meditate. You need to float. You need to go take a trip. You need to get out of your normal daily routine and mental patterns to let that stuff in. It's there for you. You just have to allow it in. And then thirdly, you got to take care of your physical body. I think that we started talking about the coffee we drink and the food that we eat. I think it's really important to get plenty of sleep. I think you have to exercise, and you have to eat in a way that's suited for you. If you're constantly inflamed and you're breaking out, it's the food that you eat. Your food is your medicine. You have to watch what you're putting in your body and how much you exercise. Like we have to. I have to work out. Like I did. I don't do it every day, but nearly. I did 200 full Hindu squats this morning, and some ab work on a Swiss ball while Junior watched cartoons. I have to have that, or else my whole system is out of whack for the day. So, what did I say? Number one is be willing to take a risk. B is if you want to make a change in your life, you have to change your environment and the way that you perceive things in order to let your true essence and to let your path in. And C, take care of your body.
Beautiful, man. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. You are an inspirational motivator. And the work that you're doing, man, the world needs more Seans.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to come back on episode 315.
Yeah, and let's keep the conversation going, man.
Yeah.
And this is the last question I'll ask.
Okay.
Most difficult. How can people find you?
Yeah. Online
or wherever it is?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. It's Sean McCormick Life Coach. SeanMcCormick.org. On Twitter, I'm Sean Evolver, SeanyVolver, Sean Evolver. Facebook, if you are interested in coaching, SeanMcCormick.org/contact is the best way to get a hold of me. And read the blog and see if you jive with it.
It's good stuff.
Thanks.
All right, brother.
Right on,
Thank
man.
you.
You bet.
Before you head off today, I wanted to reiterate a message from Sean that was in that episode. In his own words, if you're unhappy, you have to be bold enough to make a change in your life. And he offered 3 ways of doing this. Be willing to take a risk, quiet your environment, and take care of your physical body. Now, when we're talking about being willing to take a risk, being bold to make bold moves, just remember, it's easy to get stuck in the momentum. It's easy to get caught in the hamster wheel, and it's just easy to continue doing something that's familiar to us. Because what's unfamiliar is oftentimes scary. You have to be willing to take a hard look at what you want. You have to be willing to do something you've never done before to get something you've never had before. And you've heard that before. When you quiet your environment, we're also talking about quieting your mind. Maybe it's visiting Float Seattle or a sensory deprivation therapy clinic near you. Maybe it's meditating. Maybe it's just taking time out of your day to take 3 breaths. I meet people all the time who have not even taken a breath in their day. Or maybe you can ask yourself, when is the last time I took a deep breath? And then actually do it. And when you take care of your physical body, we're talking about eating, sleeping right. Because food is medicine. And not only is food medicine, but so are the people around us. So are the things that we place around us. So is our lighting. So is every single piece of our environment. These are all pieces of data that our bodies and our minds absorb. So be mindful of what's around you and be mindful of what's in you. And then have the willingness and the boldness to make big moves. So with that, go on out there and do it, baby. And I'll see you back on the next weigh-in.